following is a CUNY TV special presentation.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Dr. John King, Jr. Was appointed the New York State Commissioner of Education and President of the University of the State of New York in May of 2011. Dr. King oversees more than 7,000 public and independent elementary and secondary schools, serving 3.1 million students, along with hundreds of other educational institutions across New York State, including higher ed, libraries, and museums. Dr. King is a strong voice for education reform, and he was the driving force behind New York's successful Race to the Top application, as well as the restructuring of the teacher evaluation and implementation of the Common Core standards. Before becoming commissioner, Dr. King served as Senior Deputy Commissioner for P through 12 education at the State Education Department. In that role, Commissioner King coordinated the development of New York's State's successful Race to the Top application, which earned the second highest point total of the winning states in round 2 and secured nearly $700 million to support P through 12 education reform. Dr. King is the founder of the Roxbury Preparatory Charter School, a Massachusetts-based charter school, and was the director of Uncommon Schools before being appointed Senior Deputy Commissioner in 2009. John, welcome back to ABNY, and we look forward to hearing your remarks this morning about the future of education in the state of New York. Dr. King, please join us. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm a teacher. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I want to especially thank ABNY for the opportunity to have this conversation this morning, and thank Bill Rudin for his warm introduction. I want to recognize members of my board of regents who are here, our leader, Chancellor Tisch, Regent Jim Talon, and Regent Charlie Bendit. As all of you know, in the coming weeks across the state, we will have many students who will walk across the stage for their high school graduation. Some of them will go on to college. Some of them will go on to earn degrees in college. Some of them will go on to the world of work. But whatever they do, whatever their path, it will be shaped by the education that they received in our P through 12 system. For some of them, the education they have received has been world class. For some of them, they were studying advanced mathematics in 11th and 12th grade. They were participating in orchestras. They were reading widely. They were developing proficiency in a foreign language. They were undertaking service projects and internships, and the world is open to them. But for others of our students, that was not their educational experience. For some of them, more than 25% statewide and a full 40% here in New York City, they were not able to graduate in 4 years from high school. Many of them struggled in school. Some of them dropped out of school. Among those who did in fact graduate, less than half graduated ready for college and career success, ready to do college-level credit-bearing coursework. And troublingly, more than a quarter of those students who went on to higher education in New York State were required to take remedial courses, a majority in our community colleges, and over 80% at CUNY's two-year institutions. Students required to take remedial courses, and that's really a euphemism. Remedial courses, it means high school. It means students arrived on college campuses and were told, go down the hall to the high school class for which you and your family will pay college prices. And for every additional remedial course a student is required to take, that student is more likely to not finish college and instead to leave with debt, discouraged, and no degree. And as I travel across the state, I hear from employers, like many in this room, who worry that it is difficult to find the skilled workforce they need, and even difficult to find the unskilled employees ready to succeed in post-secondary training. To put it plainly, the crisis in college and career readiness in New York State is largely a result of a troubling mismatch between the expectations in P through 12 and the expectations for college and career success in the 21st century. We can and must do better. For the sake of our long-term economic future as a state, we must ensure that students, regardless of race, regardless of zip code, regardless of their family background, receive the excellent, effective education they need for success in college and careers. And your leadership is critical to accomplishing that goal, the leadership of every person in this room. As we look ahead to the next school year and close this one, it's critical that we come together across sectors, nonprofits, higher education, the business community, civil rights organizations, and P12 around a common vision of higher standards for teaching and learning, because we know that's what our students need. The Common Core standards that we've adopted along with 45 other states were developed by asking K-12 educators, higher education faculty, and business leaders, what must students know and be able to do at every grade level in order to be prepared for college and career success? How do we establish a common sense set of expectations so that math doesn't look different in Mississippi than it does in Massachusetts? And we've had a robust, at times lively, at times even challenging discussion over the last year about those Common Core standards and about teacher effectiveness and about accountability. And too often in that discussion, the debate has been driven by false narratives rather than focusing on the substance of what the Common Core means in classrooms. I visit classrooms across the state every week. And in classroom after classroom, what I see happening because of the Common Core is students who are reading more challenging texts, students who are writing persuasively with evidence drawn from text, and students who are becoming better problem solvers in math. I think of a classroom that I visited in Western New York where I was sitting with a group of fifth graders who were doing their first year of work on the Common Core in English Language Arts a couple years ago. And I said to the students as I was sitting with them, well, how is English Language Arts different now with the Common Core? And one of the fifth graders turned to me and said, well, before the Common Core, we would just read a book and write a book report. And that's it. And then he said, but now we're required to use evidence drawn from the text to support our arguments. And then a second student said, yeah, and to do that, you have to read every page really closely. But the best was the third student who said, yeah, and the books are better that way. And of course they are. Right? The beauty of text, the power of text is understanding the argument the author was trying to make, the important choices the author made about which words to use to convey his or her argument or to tell his or her story. And that ability to closely read text, to analyze text, to use text is critical for success, whether you're reading a college sociology textbook or a manual in a new technical job or just reading for pleasure. That ability is critical to success and something we all want for all of our children. In mathematics, the Common Core is similarly urgent. You can think of a classroom I visited in the southern tier near the Pennsylvania border, a welding classroom in a high school. And I was touring the classroom and the teacher said, well, this is the area of the welding class for the students who are good at fractions, and this is the area of the welding classroom for the students who are bad at fractions. And these were high school students who hadn't yet had the benefit of the Common Core. But he went on to explain that if you are not very good at fractions, you're going to struggle with many of the projects in welding class. So the Common Core isn't just about success in four-year liberal arts degree programs. The Common Core is about college and career readiness in the truest sense. And the work on the Common Core that is happening in classrooms across the state should be celebrated. The reality is, despite all of the noise, despite all of the politics, in classroom after classroom, because of the great leadership of administrators and teachers across the state, students are being challenged at new levels, teachers are implementing new curricula, they're changing their approach to instruction and seeing the benefit for their students. And the teachers who are doing that work are heroes. They are day in and day out overcoming whatever challenges students bring to school with them from home. Whatever challenges their students face, whatever academic liabilities they have from their past preparation, they are overcoming that day after day in their classrooms, and that is heroic. And it's because of that kind of heroism that I'm even standing here today. It was great teachers in my own life who are the reason that I'm standing here today. My mom passed away when I was 8. My dad when I was 12. Many of those years I lived with my father while he was quite sick. And teachers could have written me off. They could have looked at me and said, well, here's an African-American Latino male student going to school in Canarsie, Brooklyn. What chance does he have? Here's a student with a difficult home life. What chance does he have? But they didn't write me off. Instead, they invested in me. They created classroom environments in which I was nurtured and challenged. And because of their amazing work in their classrooms, I'm able to be here today doing this job. I became a teacher and a principal to try to create for students the kinds of experiences that those teachers created for me. And we have thousands of teachers just like that, heroic teachers making a difference in their students' lives every day in classrooms all across this state. And they do that despite the politics, despite the political battles that rage in the background. And those aren't unique to New York. We see those same political battles across the country as we grapple with the task of raising standards across 45 states. But despite the attempts by some to gain political advantage by undermining the effort to raise standards, states are moving forward. More than 40 states are moving forward not only in changing instruction, but beginning to implement, as we have in New York, Common Core assessments. So as the school year comes to a close, as we enter graduation season, we have an opportunity to move away from the political debates that have distracted us over the past year and to focus on what matters most, getting results for our students. Across the country, educators support Common Core and can talk about the difference it's making for their students. Yes, of course, changing instruction is hard. Yes, of course, although we've invested $500 million in Race to the Top funds in professional development, there is more professional development work to do. And yes, of course, although implementation has been uneven across our 700 districts, we must move forward and help those districts that are struggling learn from those that are excelling. But just as we teach our students to face adversity with perseverance and renewed effort, we must together thoughtfully adjust our work on the Common Core and move forward toward higher standards. We can have political debates about evaluation and accountability, but in the end, what matters is whether it's helping our teachers and schools to improve. What we know about what students are learning in school has to inform our evaluation of educators' work, and we have to view the evaluation system as a vehicle to support good professional development for our teachers, for our principals, for all of our educators in our schools. And for the vast majority of educators, it is just about that, improving practice over time. Last year when we did teacher evaluations in New York State, just 1% of teachers statewide were found to be ineffective. And those teachers will have the opportunity to get support, improvement plans, coaching, and get better. So folks who say that the new evaluation system is all about firing teachers are just plain wrong. It's about supporting teachers, supporting principals, and ultimately supporting our students as we try to improve instruction. We can have political debates about testing, but at the end of the day, we all understand that we must know how our children are doing, and we must have a way to identify those who are at risk of slipping through the cracks. The Common Core doesn't mean, despite what some may say on Facebook or Twitter, the Common Core doesn't mean more testing. In fact, in New York State, the number of state tests required with the Common Core is exactly the same as the number of state tests required before the Common Core. What the Common Core actually means is that the tests are better. Not perfect, because no assessment can be a perfect measure of student learning, but better. They require more writing, more problem solving, and more critical thinking, exactly the things students need for success in college and careers. At the same time, we have to work together to limit testing to the minimum amount that we need to inform good decision making. And districts have the flexibility to do that. Under state law, they can add tests for various purposes, but they also have the autonomy, rightly, to reduce tests when they feel that they are unnecessary, and they should. We can also have a political debate about curriculum. But at the end of the day, what should drive our choices about curriculum must be student learning. And the best judges of what curriculum will best achieve student learning are at the local level. Now in New York, we raised the top resources in developing an optional voluntary curriculum. It's been celebrated nationally. It's been downloaded nearly 7 million times. But ultimately, despite the excellent quality of that curriculum, it is a local decision what curriculum to use, what professional development to pursue, and those decisions should be made locally by those closest to their students. At the same time, we have a collective obligation to hold the publishing community accountable for the quality of the materials that are provided that reflect the Common Core. Just having a sticker that says Common Core aligned doesn't mean the materials reflect the Common Core, doesn't mean they're high quality, doesn't mean they're aligned with the Common Core. Just a sticker doesn't get it done. We've got to demand of the publishing community the highest quality products, because what matters most in education is the relationship between teacher and student and the work in which they are engaged. And as we focus on what matters most, as we focus on improving classroom instruction for the sake of our students, we need your voices in support. When your elected officials acquiesce to people who claim that the standards are a national conspiracy of the left or a national conspiracy of the right, we need you to push back and to speak up. When opponents of higher standards make false claims about privatization and corporate reform, we need you to speak up and explain that the business community has a stake in better educational outcomes for our students just like everyone else. When defenders of the status quo say that poverty or difficult family circumstances or speaking a language other than English at home present insurmountable obstacles and schools don't matter, we need you to join us in pointing to all the schools and teachers and students who are proving that wrong every day across the state and across the country. We all recognize that there are many problems in our society and schools can't solve them all, but education is our best path to ensuring that we fulfill the promise of equal opportunity and secure the long-term future of our democracy and our economy. We must also together help students better understand the connection between what they are learning in P12 and the opportunities available to them in college and careers. One of the best examples of that in New York is the partnership between IBM, the City University of New York, and New York City DOE, PTech. At PTech, which is located on a campus of a once failing high school, they're achieving outstanding results for largely students of color from low-income families by focusing on the Common Core and focusing on the skills that students need for success at businesses like IBM, like the ability to collaborate with peers and to manage long-term projects. PTech students will graduate not just with a high school diploma, but they'll graduate with a high school diploma, an associate's degree, and first in line for jobs at IBM. Thanks to the leadership of the Board of Regents and of Governor Cuomo, we are investing in taking the PTech model to scale across the state. In 16 communities around the state, there are new PTech schools planned in industries ranging from clean technologies to agribusiness, from information technology to advanced manufacturing. Students in every economic development region of the state will be better prepared for college and careers because of the partnership between business, higher education, and our P12 school districts. We need more employers, including those in this room, to step up in the way that IBM and Global Foundries and Cisco and Wegmans and the Catholic Health System have as partners to our PTech schools. So we need the folks in this room, across all sectors, to be our partners. We need you to speak up. We need you to choose not to be silent in the face of deception and misinformation. You can't stand on the sidelines while others debate education policy. We need you in the debate, advocating for our students. And when people call for a retreat to lower standards, we need you to reject that argument and join us in insisting on higher standards for teaching and for learning. A better New York starts with you, with all of us in this room, with what we do each day to advance higher standards for teaching and learning, and how we act with determination for the sake of better student outcomes. I know we can do this. I have faith in our teachers and in our principals. I have faith in the leadership of our superintendents across the state. I have faith in our elected leadership. I have faith in our union leadership, who are critical partners doing a challenging job in a challenging environment. And I have faith in our students' families, who, no matter the daily obstacles they face, are committed to the success of their children. Above all, I have faith in our students. I know that when we challenge our students, when we create environments that inspire and motivate and nurture them, when we set high expectations and help them to reach those expectations, they can accomplish great things and do anything they set their minds to. And that, more than anything else, will produce a better New York. Thank you for your time this morning. I look forward to your questions.
John, thank you. I was actually at a panel discussion last night that ABNY helped co-sponsor with Citi and Google regarding our tech report, and the principal or the co-founder of P-Tech was there talking about what they've accomplished. It's quite amazing. Also at that event last night, one of the panelists mentioned that teachers in New York State can get credentials to teach agriculture, but they can't get credentials to teach computer science. What can we do better to prepare the teachers to teach the subjects that are driving the 21st century economy? I'm taking Chairman's prerogative asking the first question.
I think that's exactly right. We've got to change both how we prepare teachers so that we're preparing them in ways that make sense for the 21st century, and we've got to change what kinds of academic courses are available to students. Just this past week, the Board of Regents adopted a proposal to change how we organize courses at the high school level to allow more integrated courses that integrate English and math with career and technical education areas, exactly because we know that students may be able to do quite a bit of math in their computer science course, and we ought to create environments where schools have the flexibility to change their approach to instruction to do that. So that's exactly right, something that we're committed to and working on.
Go ahead.
My mother, my grandmother, and my husband were New York City school teachers, and my husband was on a school board. So I'm very grassroots. So you talked about this summer, and you talked about the ability this summer to take a step back and see what went right, what went wrong. So if I were a New York State school teacher starting in September, what will you have been doing over the summer to make my job in terms of implementing the Common Core a little bit less challenging and perhaps a little bit more rewarding?
One of the most important things we can do to support teachers and principals is good professional development. So we have not only made available curriculum materials, but we have over the last 4 years trained 10,000 train the trainers, folks who are prepared to go back to their school districts and support their colleagues in doing professional development around the Common Core. So in July, we'll have about 1,000 folks from around the state together in Albany for a week doing intensive training around the Common Core, focused particularly on some of the challenges we're seeing as we're now 4 years into this work. One challenge is when you have students who come in very far behind, how do you build a bridge from where they are to where students need to be with the Common Core? How do we focus on our English language learners and supporting their development both in English language arts and in math, where a problem-solving intensive math curriculum requires more reading and writing. And so how do you help English language learners make that transition? So we'll do that professional development in Albany, and then those folks will go back regionally to provide professional development for their colleagues. We also are growing our collection of resources that are available to teachers. We have a website, engageny.org, that has become sort of a go-to national resource. It's had over 60 million page views as people have come to look for resources in New York. But critically important is the work that districts do. Our superintendents, our principals, and we can see across the state variation. And one thing I've been encouraged by is I've heard Chancellor Farina talk about the Common Core. She's very focused on the quality of professional development that's provided both to teachers and to principals to ensure the success of the effort.
Hi, my name is Vicki, and I work for IBM, but I'm also a board member at one of the newly merged school districts here in upstate New York, Central Valley. And my question is, what if anything, would the support be for some of the families and the parents? The children are learning one way, and then when we go home, and I graduated from RPI, and I'm trying to help my 4th grader with her math homework, and I don't know what they're asking for. So are there any plans to help support some of the families that need that to help support the kids and the teachers?
Yes, you've identified what is a challenge I hear across the state, particularly math homework, and how do we support families in supporting their kids with respect to the new standards. What we're trying to do is share best practices that we're seeing across the state. I'll give you one quick example. I was out in Mineola on Long Island, and teachers there were having this same problem. And one of the teachers said, you know what I'll do, and Chancellor and I were there together, she said, what am I going to do to help parents help their kids? So she started using her iPad to take a 2-minute video of the first problem of each night's math homework, and she would do the video where you could see her doing the math problem in the video, and it was very easy to do, and that was a way for parents and kids to be able to see a model problem before they embarked on the math homework. Well, it became very popular with parents in her class. So then other teachers at the school started to use this same strategy of doing these very short videos on the school website where parents could see how to approach the math problem. It got so popular that kids started wanting to turn in their homework assignments as videos of them explaining how they solved their math problems. And Chancellor Tisch and I were there, and the kids couldn't contain their enthusiasm about showing us their videos, where they very thoughtfully explained not just the answers to the math problems, but their mathematical reasoning. So we've got to replicate efforts like that. There are districts around the state that are doing math nights with parents to help parents understand some of the approaches in the Common Core. And one of the big differences of the Common Core is this emphasis on conceptual understanding, not just memorizing an algorithm. And for many of us, our math education consisted of memorizing many algorithms for a short time. Maybe we didn't remember them so long after. The goal here is to have students have a real understanding of how numbers work. And so that is a different approach, and we do need to build that bridge for families.
Thank you, Dr. King, for your insight and answering, I think, some good questions from the audience, and we look forward to working with you.